Hi there. I'm Chris Krycho, and today I want to talk to you about two strange chasms that stand between the creation of art and its appreciation by an audience. First, although the creation of a given piece of art is often, not always, but often, solitary, it is rarely, not never, but rarely, made solely for the enjoyment of the artist, the creator. Instead, it is meant, almost always, to be shared. We want a novel to be read, a screenplay to be directed and filmed and acted. We want a painting to be seen. We want a symphony to be played. We want a play to be staged or a sculpture to be beheld. Of course, it's one thing to want our work to be understood. It's one thing to want to share our work with others in whatever fashion is appropriate to the medium. And it's another to want our work to endure. It's not a bad thing to want our work to endure, per se, but it comes with a very different load on us, a different kind of weight. It's an ambition that can become unhealthy, that can distort our work, that can ultimately discourage us from doing the ordinary task of making good art. Because, after all, most art that most people have ever made did not endure down to the present. And that goes, of course, for most of what we think of as folk art. You might have just called that art up to a certain point in time, is simply the ordinary stuff of artistic life for most people in most places in most times of human existence. People sang their songs and painted their homes and composed their poems for themselves and the people they loved. They did it for the simple joy of doing it, making their homes and their lives lovelier. And that's good and right. I have no expectation that the photographs I've taken that line my wall, there's one right there and there's others elsewhere in my home. I don't have any expectation that those are going to endure past when someday I pass away. That's fine and good. It is good to remember that this is actually the native mode of art in life. It's just as transient as we are. It's as passing as we are. It's like grass in the sun. But even in the fields that we think of as high art or consisting of great musical works or works of painting or whatever that may be, most artistic works don't last. Most musical works from the 18th and 19th centuries haven't endured. Nor do most novels or plays or paintings or sculptures. And obviously that goes for most of the dreck of the day that we're just as happy didn't make it down to us. But it goes equally for most of the things that were considered the great works of their day. The most celebrated, most preserved works of the 1700s, most of them aren't here with us today. And the further back you go, the more true that is. Consider, Bach had many contemporaries, but unless you're a pretty strong student of music history, you probably can't name more than one or two of them, and a lot of you probably can't name any of them. I don't doubt that some of you watching this will come back with a list of dozens of contemporaries of Bach, but not most of you. And, leave a comment. I'd be amused to see how many you can list off the top of your head. No cheating and looking at Wikipedia. Most of those people's works, though, barely lasted past their own deaths. Some of them not even to their deaths. And they haven't come down to us at all. Even among Bach's works, much of his oeuvre has not made it down to us because his reputation waxed and waned over the years after his death. And that goes the same for the Romantic era. It goes the same for 20th century music. This is normal. This is exceedingly normal. And in fact, the idea of any music lasting down to the present day is somewhat surprising. It's a quirk that's limited mostly to the Western common practice period. You just won't find it beyond that by and large. And you'll find more of things like paintings or sculptures because they have an endurance that is of a different character perhaps than we might see for a musical work. You'll see it here and there for plays and novels. But by and large, most art, through most ages, has been for the people in one particular place, one particular time. whether that was court music or country music or anything in between. And by country, I don't mean country western, I mean music of the people of the country. So the first chasm is just finding an audience at all, whether or not it endures. And the more so for art that does aim to go beyond our local audience, whatever that may be. We want our works to be enjoyed, and enjoyed broadly, and perhaps even to be enjoyed past our own days. And this sequence goes from totally good for art, though of course all ambition can be distortive, to, well, somewhat good, though more prone to the distortions of ambition when we seek our art to be enjoyed beyond our local group of people, our local community, to very distorting when we get out into that desire to be enduring and to last. Whether our art endures beyond us is ultimately out of our hands. And frankly, when we get too indulgent in self-promotion, not only does it not make that much difference in the end, but it makes us quite wearisome to the people around us. See also social media. There's a second chasm, though, which is of a rather different sort. For many of our works, for many kinds of works, whether they come to fruition is ultimately outside the hands of the original artist. This is a way that a novel and a play are very different things. To complete the writing of a novel, to put it into the world, is to finish it in some real sense. And perhaps you have some help along the way. Perhaps you have a publisher, perhaps you have some editors. Those are to the good. But to put the novel into the world is to be done with the creation of that novel. This is not so for a play. To complete the writing of a script is to begin a new stage in the life of that script. It is to ask a new question. Will this find its players? Will it find a director who wants to stage it and a theater that wants to host it? Only then can it have the chance of finding an audience that a novel has the day it is published. However much we might enjoy reading a script for a play, it's not a play's true form. A play it's meant to be staged. A play not staged is a play not come to fruition. And all we can do with works that have that kind of shape, a script, screenplay, a symphony, is offer them to the world around us and hope that they find not just an audience, but first, some people who find them lovely or interesting enough to stage them, to film them, to perform them in the case of a musical work. Our works are, in the end, nothing without those collaborators. We can go looking for those collaborators, but in the end, we cannot conjure them ourselves. We cannot command them. We can only hope that our work is good enough and gets that lucky break enough, catches someone's eye, that they then fall in love with it enough to help it become a thing in the world, that maybe an orchestra plays it. And that maybe if they don't love it quite as much as their first authors do, still they love it enough to give it a chance to be something in the world. And so what a gift when we do find partners, collaborators, co-creators in a real sense who can help us cross that second chasm and join novel writers and painters and so on to cross that first chasm and hope to find an audience, whether the audience endures past today or not. I'm going to hope that someday I find for the symphony I'm working on just those kinds of co-creators and collaborators to help me cross that second chasm. If you're working on that kind of work, I hope you do as well. Let me know about it in the comments. And if there's a way I find your work lovely and can support it, but I will. Thanks for watching. Back to my tea and back to my work.